Something Real Chapter 4. Carter looked over at her as they grilled some burgers in his backyard. Do you realize we've been together for more than 2 months? Izzy thought about it. Wow, we have. She thought as she looked up at him. Is it me, or does it not feel that long? No, he agreed. It doesn't, but in some ways it seems longer. Yeah, she chuckled. It's kind of weird like that. She sat in a lawn chair while Winchester ran around the backyard, tapping her foot to the country music playing over his outdoor speakers. Carter walked over to her and leaned on the arms of the chair. So, what brings a pretty little thing like you to my backyard? Carter asked her with his Texas accent hanging heavy on the words. Winchester came bounding over and began to lick Carter's face. Izzy laughed as the dog made his affections for Carter known. Wasn't exactly who I expected to get a kiss from, Carter joked as he wiped his face on his shirt sleeve. This made Izzy laugh harder. She reached up and put her hand on his face and gave him a long, lingering kiss. I guess the dog knew what he was doing, Carter smiled at her. Thank you, dog. Carter chuckled and turned back to Izzy for one more kiss. Izzy laughed again as he returned to the burgers and corn on the grill. The two soon sat down to a fantastic meal and a couple of beers. They had finished their meal, cleaned up, and went back outside to enjoy the unseasonably cool evening. Carter sat in the swing on his patio. Izzy walked out with 2 beers in hand. I knew there was a reason I liked you, Carter joked. Izzy laughed and handed him a beer. She sat next to him on the swing, and he put his arm around her. This is nice, she said as she leaned into him. It is, Carter agreed with a smile. My family is having a barbecue on the 4th in a few weeks. Would you come with me? Izzy sat up and looked at him. We always have a big shindig for the 4th. Fireworks and the whole 9 yards, Carter explained. Winchester came bounding up. No, dog, sorry you're not invited. Izzy laughed. I would love to go, she smiled at him. It sounds like it would be fun. It is, Carter told her. Some of my aunts, uncles, and cousins come too. I will love that, Izzy smiled. Carter looked over at her as she sipped her beer. Would you dance with me? She turned to look at him. I would love to. Izzy stood up and Carter pulled her close, and they danced cheek to cheek for a few songs. Why don't you talk about your family? Carter questioned her. Izzy looked up at him. I don't have any family left. I'm sorry, Izzy, Carter told her. It is what it is, Izzy said. There weren't many people left when I was born. What do you mean? I was born late in life to my parents, she explained. Both of them passed away by the time I was 25, and the little bit of extended family I had died before I was 10. I'm sorry, Izzy, Carter told her. My life has been great so far. With more awesomeness to come, she told him. I have no regrets. Carter pulled her close again. Carter went in for more beer, and Izzy made herself at home on the swing. He soon returned with the beers and gave one to Izzy. Let's go do something tomorrow, Izzy suggested. Like what? Carter asked as he sat next to her and threw his arm across the swing behind her. I don't care, as long as I'm with you, she smiled at him. He smiled back and leaned into a kiss. Then I'll have to figure out what we can do, Carter grinned. My boss told me today I have to take my vacation soon or lose it, Izzy told him. Any suggestions on what I can do? What ideas do you have or constraints? I want to drive, and I'm taking the dog with me, she told him. What about a state park? Carter offered. Do you like to fish? I love to go fishing, Izzy told him. So does Winha, boy. You like to fish, don't ya? Izzy laughed as she talked to the dog and watched as he wagged his whole body. He likes to fish? Carter chuckled. In his own way. He jumps in the water, she giggled. Izzy sat and thought for a moment. That does sound nice. She looked over at Carter. Fishing for 2 weeks. 2 weeks? Carter shouted. What am I supposed to do for 2 weeks? I have to take it before July is out, she told him. The calendar runs out in June, but they give us the extra month to use it or lose it. Would you mind if I take some vacation and tag along? Carter asked her. Izzy smiled at him. You want to do that? I would love to do that, Carter grinned back at her. I guess then, all we have to do is find somewhere to go, Izzy commented. The two made plans to go out the next day, and Izzy and Winchester made their way home. Izzy arrived home and opened up the secret email, one that only her and her Montana friend had access to. He would leave her a message as a draft if he had any information to pass to her, and he had. The marshals had come to his office asking about her. He reported to Izzy that he said she had come by, but didn't stay long. She wondered how they tracked her up there at all. Decker then went on to explain the conversation. Chief Decker walked up to his station, returning from a long drive to visit a neighboring county. This joint investigation was wearing him thin. Chief Rudy Decker, a man called out to him. Deck turned to him. Two men approached him from a car parked in front of the station. "Can I help you?" Deck asked, stopping on the sidewalk. "I'm Deputy U.S. Marshal Sammy Crow, and this is Deputy Josh Harrington," the man said and offered to shake Deck's hand. Deck, a spry 55-year-old law officer, accepted the offer for a handshake. "What can I help you with, gentlemen?" Crow pulled a picture of Abby out. "Have you seen her in the last couple of years?" Abby. Deck looked over at the pair and internally questioned their intentions. "Sure." "What was the nature of her visit?" Crow continued his questioning. "Why don't we go inside and talk about this?" Deck offered, knowing the information was sensitive, and turned to walk into the small station. "We would rather talk about this out here. If it's all the same," Harrington told the chief. Deck turned back to the men and openly questioned their intentions. This conversation just took a completely different direction. "What do you mean?" Crow questioned him. "We just went from an assist to adversaries in one short sentence," Deck responded. "What are you looking for? When was the last time you saw her?" "A year ago, now, give or take," Deck responded. "That's when she was sure the bullet wounds were healed." "Bullet wounds?" Crow questioned. "You had no idea she was shot?" Deck asked, disgusted. "Even I saw the crime scene photos. Common sense. How did you see them?" Harrington looked at him suspiciously. "It was on an assistance net for small law enforcement agencies in the surrounding states. But I suspect you knew that, since it was pulled down within 45 minutes of being posted." Deck looked the men over, wondering why they were so confrontational. Crow nodded knowingly. The two marshals questioned him for about 30 minutes, to which Deck gave very direct answers to, and didn't bother to elaborate on any of their questions. He made it difficult for the marshals, and he knew it. "Did you know she was in the program?" "Yes, I did," Deck responded. "Did you know the secondary location was also compromised?" "No, we didn't." Crow had wondered why she wasn't found there. She went, "There was someone there, too. Why didn't you do your job and call us when she arrived?" Harrington questioned him, seeming a little angry. Deck adjusted his stance and coolly responded. "Because it seemed, from what she told me," Deck looked at the men from just under the brim of his cowboy hat. "You weren't doing yours." Deck reached out and stopped an officer walking up to the station. "Jack, would you show these two men to the hotel here in town?" Deck turned back to the two men. "You see, the closest airport around here is 2 hours away, and it closed an hour ago." Deck then walked off, leaving the marshals with the officer. Izzy knew there was no possible way they identified her location. She didn't associate with many people and couldn't tell anyone where she was going. She hadn't known until she stopped running. She didn't see how it was possible that anyone knew, much less the U.S. Marshals or the N of Crew. She didn't know which one would be worse. Izzy spent the better part of Sunday debating whether or not to set off for a new destination. She started to consider where she would go if she did leave, and it was consuming her thoughts for the entire afternoon. Carter had come over, and they were going to watch a movie and order pizza. "Izzy." Carter walked over to her from the kitchen. "Are you all right?" "Yeah." She looked up at him from her spot on the couch. "Why?" "I've been talking to you for the past 5 minutes, and it's all going right past you," Carter explained. "Sorry, I just have something on my mind today." Izzy gave him a smile, but it wasn't fooling Carter. He could see right through that smile to a tormented spirit. "Are you sure you're okay?" Carter asked her as he sat next to her on the couch. "I'm fine," she lied. Izzy got up and walked over to the video case. "What do you feel like watching?" Carter stood up, fully intending on returning to the previous conversation, but walked over to the cabinet to help find movie. They picked a good action/drama movie and sat down again, only waiting on the pizza. "So, the 4th is coming up." Izzy turned to him and smiled. He grabbed her hand and interlaced his fingers with hers. "It'll be fun." "I know," she told him as she looked at their hands. Carter sighed. "What's wrong?" He looked over at her as they sat comfortably close on the couch. "I can tell there's something wrong." Izzy sighed and looked over. "I'm just considering changing jobs." Izzy looked Carter in the eye. "That's it." Carter looked over at her. "That's it?" Izzy nodded. "Why didn't you just tell me that?" "I didn't want to bother you with it." Izzy explained from her spot next to him on the couch. That's not a bother, Carter assured her. What kind of job are you looking for? Therein lies my dilemma, she said and adjusted herself on the couch. I don't know what kind of job I want, or in this job market, if I should even try a different one. Don't worry too much about it, he tried to reassure her. What I'm trying to say is, you have a good job, and if you find a better one, that would be great. He looked at her for a moment. But you have to promise me you won't leave Dallas. She looked up at him surprised by his comment and smiled. I'll do my best. The doorbell rang, alerting them the pizza had arrived. Pizza's here, Carter said and slowly got up off of the couch. Izzy went to the kitchen and grabbed some paper plates and 2 more beers. Carter was just closing the front door when she returned. Winchester, now completely aware that food was involved, strolled over to the couch. Izzy gave Carter his plate and beer. They each took a slice, and then she grabbed a second plate and put a slice on it for the dog. Carter laughed. You crack me up, dog. The two settled in for a quiet, relaxing evening. Carter called his partner, Paul Vickers. He wanted to discuss something with him, and he knew Paul had information to give him. They met at their usual location, where Paul was already waiting on him. Carter, Paul shook his hand. What you got for me? Carter shook his hand and grabbed the case file he was handing to him. I talked to Crow this week. She had been in Cut Bank, Montana. She was getting help from a law enforcement friend of hers up there. Paul informed Carter. Did they find out where she went from there? Carter questioned as he looked over the case file. No, they're still no closer to finding her. So, Izzy realistically could be her. Carter closed the case file and looked over at Paul. She could be. Paul looked over at Carter. I get that they don't have her DNA. Someone fucked up by not getting it, but they don't even have a damn fingerprint on her. When the FBI passed her on to us, Crow assumed the damn agent knew what he was doing and had done his job, but they got nothing on her. That's almost too big of a screw-up to be a screw-up. Carter retorted. It is, but you didn't call me out here for information and to talk about fuck-ups. Paul looked over at Carter. What did you want? Carter tossed his head back, wondering how to say what he needed to say. You're falling for her. Paul, help him out. Carter sighed and dropped a hand to his side. Yes. Paul had a bad feeling in the pit of his stomach. Man, you have to be careful with this one. If she's Abby, she's one of us. Don't hurt her. I know. That's what I keep telling myself. Carter was exasperated. But she's just so great. Watch yourself, and her too. She has been shit on since the beginning, and she doesn't deserve that. I know.